City of Oxnard Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting for May 23rd. Madam Clerk, can you take the roll, please?
Member Valenzuela,
Present.
Member Zaragoza,
Here.
Chair Perillo.
Here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board on May 16th, 2023.
We'll have a Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Valenzuela. And number one, I want to congratulate this gentleman. He just got married, entered the biggest excitement and time of his life coming forward. But number two, a moment of silence. Memorial Day is coming up. A lot of people go that the individuals sacrificed their lives. Their lives were taken. There's a big difference. Then we have a moment of silence for the people that have lost their life during Memorial Day.
Congratulations, Councilmember.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Please stand.
Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any comments you'd like to read, Madam Clerk?
Not at this time. Thank you, Chair Perillo.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is public comments. I do not see that we have any, but I'm just double checking.
Chairs Perello, we do have one public speaker, Doug Portello.
Douglas Portello.
Okay, I beg your pardon. Mr. Fartello?
Doug
Portello.
Portello, please press
It's only-
star
it's only
6
one.
to unmute, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, welcome, Mr. Fartello. You have 3 minutes, please.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, Chair and committee members, staff, and the public. I know that the water rate increase was already passed, so it's a done deal. I was able to speak on that matter. The first time I asked a question about Procter & Gamble's rate and didn't get a very responsive answer from the consultant. The second time actually got a better response, so I appreciate that. I do have some further questions because we know that water is important. We all need water. We got to pay for that water, but how much we pay and some of the debt service and other things that we're paying on, I think there's some still outstanding questions in my mind and some other residents. So here goes. Number one, from the 2010 water bond of $120 million, which was renegotiated, I believe it was in 2014, why was an auditorium built at the AWPF with some of the money instead of the intended purpose, building the ASR wells? And how much was spent on this auditorium? I had heard a figure of $22 million. I'm not sure if I could get clarification. Number two, what is the annual debt service the ratepayers of potable water are paying for the AWPF? What percentage are they paying of the total debt service? Number three, what is the annual cost, both fixed and variable, for the production of non-potable water for each of the last 5 years? Number four, how much revenue is generated in user fees from the users of recycled water in each of the last 5 years? Number five, how many acre feet of water is recycled water produced each year of the last 5 years? Number six, what is the current timeline for completion of the ASR wells for 3 skids? That's 7,000 acre feet per skid of annual production of recycled water. Number seven, what are residential customers paying per acre foot? And how much are the commercial users paying per acre foot? Number eight, how does the city propose to claim the water credits for supplying recycled water? And how will the city use those credits? Number nine, since Procter & Gamble is the only user of unblended water, how does their current commercial account rate per acre foot compared to other commercial users? So there's other commercial users that are using blended water, and there's cost to that. Number 10, how is the city's water neutrality policy being enforced? So I think these are important questions. I know they've been asked. I know they've been submitted to City Council. So I would appreciate a staff person or someone else helping me out answer these questions. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Partello, before you get off, thank you very much
Sure.
for sharing your questions and your concerns. It's always appreciated by the full entire council. But with the detailed questions that you've asked, I'm requesting you submit a written request of those questions to the city clerk. It'll make it much easier for all involved to get you some answers. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
No other comments? Okay. Moving on to the next item of the
Chair
agenda.
Perrello, excuse me. We have no additional speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item on the agenda, the consent agenda. City Clerk Department, approval of the minutes. Recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee approve the minutes for May 9, regular meeting as presented. Do we have any questions, changes, concerns, or from my fellow board members?
I don't,
Nothing. I move to approve the minutes from the May 19, 2023 Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting.
Okay,
second, if you have any additional.
okay. Okay, thank you very much. Take the roll, please.
Vote, we can vote. with
Please, I'm sorry, we'll vote with our electronics. Beg your pardon.
Councilmember Valenzuela, are you abstaining?
Yes.
The minutes indicate he was not here in attendance, so he was abstaining.
I see. Okay, motion carries 201. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to the next item. Under reports. D1, Public Works Department, subject, Fourth Amendment to Agreement A-8221 with Big Truck Rental LLC for short-term rental of refuse collection vehicles for the Environmental Resource Division. The recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a Fourth Amendment to a rental agreement with Big Truck Rental LLC in the amount of $1,294,235 for a new total not to exceed $4,463,035 for an additional period of 12 months for the rental of refuse collection vehicles. And again, due to the voters choosing to decide to approve Measure M, there is a pre-recorded presentation, but there will not be that presentation shared with the public at this public meeting. Are there any public comments on this item, Madam Clerk?
Chair Perrello, we have no public speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Okay, and I see we have Mr. Brian, Assistant City Public Works Director, Mr. Brian Yanis. Do council members have any questions?
Mr. Chair. Brian, are this a residential, commercial, or long-distance trucks, or all?
So, Chair, Committee, Brian Young is Assistant Public Works Director. We rent a variety of trucks from side loaders to front loaders from this company. So that's.
You rent them?
Yes.
As needed?
As needed, we do have a moving stock that we're always continuously renting.
Continuous renting, okay.
So we started renting vehicles in 2020 when we purchased the 26 new vehicles. As we purchased those vehicles, we had to wait for the delivery of those. I think you all recall that we waited 18 to 20 months to get these vehicles. So we started renting because of our aging fleet that we currently have operating on our for our refuse vehicles.
So eventually, we're gonna have trucks that don't belong to us?
So as we began to rent vehicles and became reliable on vehicles that help us finish our routes, as well as while vehicles were being serviced from our fleet division, these rentals helped us provide services on a daily basis. So what we're gonna do in these next 12 months, while this agreement is valid for the next 12 months, is look at other options, lease to purchase or straight out purchase, and come back to city council here before the year is up.
Yeah, I think at least purchasing is probably works probably the best, potentially. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, so I have our fleet manager, Jose Areola, and our chief of collection, Ignacio Carrillo, that will be looking into what is the best option for environmental resources with the funds available that we have in our budget.
And Brian, I think refuse truck is, the life is what, about 5 to 7 years, something like that?
That's ideal, but we have 3 vehicles that are operating that are 1996.
Oh, really?
We have a vehicle that's
1996?
1996. We have a vehicle that's part of our transfer of disposal of refuse to the landfill that has 873,000 miles.
Oh, my goodness, that boy, how many engines?
It's a lot of maintenance that we put into these vehicles to keep them operable. So that's what we've been looking at, how much maintenance do we want to put into these vehicles?
As opposed to, yeah.
As opposed to purchasing new ones.
Well, that's fantastic, 800 plus miles. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No comments.
Okay, just a couple of questions, and we'll point out one highlight for the public that didn't get a chance to read it or take the opportunity to watch the Measure M. On page 8 of the staff report, third paragraph down, I'll read just the first part of it. Currently, there are 23 refuse collection vehicles that have more than 100,000 miles and an average of over 18 years of in-service use. Now, speaking for myself, there's a lot of people that have a car that has over 100,000 miles. But the difference of a garbage truck, refuse truck, environmental waste truck, however we want to publicly and politely say it, they stop and start, stop and start. They don't always stop and start the engine, but they stop and start. The wear and tear on the chassis, the brakes, the springs, everything else, 100,000 miles is a lot of rough time on these vehicles. They're meant for this. But the next part of this is very important, I think, for the public. These 23 refuse collection trucks were purchased for $3,587,265. I repeat it, $3,587,265. And to date, over $10 million has been spent on labor and parts to keep them operable. That's what wear and tear does on a piece of equipment and trying to keep it operating for our city of Oxnard. I applaud the wear and tear and the repair and the ability of our crews to keep everything going and to work with what they have. But one question, I don't know if the city manager can answer it or one of your staff. With respect to the equipment that we rent, when it's going to be for like a year, is there a possibility that any of our rental fee, if we decide to buy that piece of equipment, can go towards the purchase of the equipment?
At this time, we're not set up with this agreement that way, but there are programs that our fleet manager can explain on lease to purchase, which they're low interest rates. There are several programs out there for us to piggyback on these
Lease purchase.
lease purchase of refuse vehicles.
Okay. You've answered my question. Anybody call in on this item?
Chair Perrello, no, we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
As a person who used to work for Harrison Industries on a truck as a swamper, I can tell you the trucks take a beating. The employees do too. We try to provide our employees with the best equipment to work with. But I wholeheartedly support this, and I'll make a motion to approve this item.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is Public Works and Transportation Committee recommendation, item D2. The recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend that the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute a First Amendment to Agreement Number A-8368 with Totter LLC in the amount of $775,000 for a new total not to exceed $1,525,000 for an additional 2-year term ending May 28th, 2025, for the replenishment of curbside containers and parts. Again, due to the voters approving Measure M, there's not going to be a presentation. I hope the public has taken an opportunity to watch it. It was a good presentation, as the previous one was. Madam Clerk, do we have any speakers on this item?
Chair Perrello, we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
What's that?
Okay, I thought I heard something. Any comments or concerns from the committee members?
Mr. Chair, Brian, that includes lids also?
So-
Because we get a lot of calls for lids.
So,
Replacements.
yes, so this agreement includes lids, the full-on cart, wheels, and other
Parts.
parts to make the necessary repairs to some of our carts and residential carts and lids.
That's good. By the way, there for a while I was getting a lot of calls regarding the lid replacement, but I haven't had any recently, so we must be doing good, so.
So we have an update on some of our lids that I'll have Ignacio, our chief of collection, that might want to share, because we've been working really hard to remove that backlog.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, I'll bring them up.
Great. Hi,
Good
Ignacio.
evening. Ignacio Carrillo, Environmental Resources, Chief of Collections.
Hello.
Thank you. So, to this date, we have a total of 494 lids to be repaired, which is very minimal compared to like 3,000 that we had
In the past.
going back some months back. We have them separated by 218 being trash lids, 260 being recycle lids, and 16 green waste lids. The 16 green waste lids separates from our old 105-gallon containers that we used to have. So on the container exchanges, we have a total of 123 left, which would be 41 trash container exchanges, 17 recycle container exchanges, and 65 of the green waste, which is the 105 that we cannot substitute the lid for. It's a whole unit that when we purchased them came as a whole. And now when we do the total order, it comes the container itself and then the lids being part of the exchanges, which is more cost efficient for us and minimal when it comes to just the lid exchange and the whole unit instead.
So Ignacio, are they now 90 gallons as opposed to?
There are
100?
96 gallons, yes, sir.
96 gallons, yeah. And then do you still have 60 gallon?
Yes, we have 64 gallon, which is used as the secondary container or for the food waste program.
Right.
Because of the weight of the food waste, it's a lot harder for the truck to pick up a 96 that's fully loaded. So to eliminate damage to the container and the wear and tear on our vehicles and, debris with seagulls or anything else to take care of the exciting part.
Many, many years ago, they were selling the cross-link containers. That is still a cross-link?
Yeah,
A cross-link, as you know, Mr. Chair, it's more like a braid as opposed to a linear. And they last longer.
yes, correct.
Which is
Yeah.
really much better. And so also in your presentation, I see that you had 111,000 containers at total.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a tremendous amount of containers.
Yeah, and on the order itself, yes,
Yeah,
I'm pretty proud of the staff of the hard work they've been doing.
but good, I'm glad you're really replacing those lids. It's really important to, for the people anyway, and also to keep the seagulls away.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, Ignacio. Thank you for good work.
thank you.
So
I'd like to piggyback just on that 111,000. We have a tremendous asset. Those are valuable assets that we have, and I appreciate taking care of the assets. Thank you, and please share with your crews. Thanks a lot.
And so one of the things that, with the 494 repairs that we need to make, about half of those are actual residents that called in. The other half have been reported by drivers.
Oh, good.
So we're trying to, our drivers are providing these broken lids, we're repairing them. And from the 200 plus from the residents that call in, we're about 4 to 5 weeks from the last service call. So we're dealing with them sometimes very quickly, but it's usually taking us between 2 to 4 weeks to get those repairs made from our residents that call in. So we've made vast improvements on making those repairs. I think we're averaging 6 to 12 months due to lack of inventory and other means, but we're making pretty good progress on making those repairs.
Can I ask one quick question? Brian or Ignacio, how long is it gonna take to get those new containers?
So we already had our last shipment in about a month and a half ago.
Oh, good.
So we purchased $240,000 worth of lids, carts, and
Initially.
and parts. So this, since we expended all our money in the contract, we're back to renew the contract and add additional funds.
That's why
we're here.
Okay, oh, good,
So
thank you.
come July 1, we're able to reorder the supplies and keep the proper inventory at the Del Norte site, so we have the ability to make those repairs and exchanges that our customers need.
Excellent, thank you, sir.
A couple of questions. Again, that's great information, and I'll just share with you. When a customer, when a resident goes, Councilman so-and-so, I got a garbage can lid and I got a problem in the, and it gets taken care of, they think we walk on water because we got a trash can lid fixed. I want to share that with you. And so that it is amazing. And I'm sure our newest council member will find that the same thing to happen. They think you're walking on water. The two questions. What is it, if a person were to buy one of these garbage cans, what is the cost of a garbage can? If, say, a person, some knucklehead sets it on fire and burns down the thing, and we find that it's the resident's thing, I assume, charge them for the garbage can. What does it cost?
I believe on our fee, our master fee schedule for environmental resource, it is $54 for a replacement of a cart that was either damaged or stolen or disappeared from a resident's location.
Thank you. And one last thing. Again, if you could share with us the number, if a resident has a problem with a lid, what is the best phone number to call? Or is it simply 311? What do you recommend?
We have a call. We have several ways to do it. 311 can be done through 311, but we also have the call center at 385-8060.
385-8060.
8060.
That is our call center.
We've had that phone number for 300 years, you know that?
Okay.
300.
200.
And Madam Clerk, no one else is called? No?
No.
Okay. What is if there are any more questions, and if there's none, what's a favor?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Please vote. Thank you very much for the presentation. And please thank your crews for taking care of these things, because as I said, all of a sudden they think the city councilman's walking on water. Thank you.
Motion carries 3 to
Thank you,
0.
Ignacio.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Public Works Department. The subject, Professional Services Agreement 324-00003 with Northern Digital Incorporated, NDI, for supervisorial control and data acquisition systems, commonly referred to as SCADA, support services. The recommendation that the Public Works and Transportation Committee recommend the City Council approve and authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Northern Digital Incorporated, NDI, for an amount not to exceed $1 million for a 3-year term for supervisorial control and data acquisition, SCADA, support services for the water, wastewater, and recycled water systems. Again, because the voters approved this Measure M and the litigation that's going on, there will not be a presentation now. I hope that voters and residents have taken an opportunity to watch this, but we have staff to address. And Madam Clerk, have any public comments on this item?
Chair Perrello, we have no speakers virtually or in person for this item.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Joe, you know, the SCADA supports, as Councilmember Perrella mentioned, that the support of the water, wastewater services, and also recycling, the recycling.
Recycled water,
Recycled water.
yes.
And that's really, that's almost a mandated item, right?
Yes, correct. Good evening, Chair Perrello, committee members, Mayor. Joseph Marcinko, Assistant Public Works Director, Water Utilities. SCADA systems are the core of the operation because they run 24/7. They tell you what's going on with the treatment systems in all three of these areas. So with the operations of the wastewater plant, even with the collection system of the wastewater plant, there are remote sensing stations that send data continuously to let the operators know that the plant is functioning correctly. And if it isn't, then it gives them alarms, calls them up on a phone, on an auto dialer, and gives them alarms where they can log into their computer. They can actually see the components and get an idea. And with these systems, you can actually do controls with it as well. So you can, if there's something that's malfunctioning, you can actually turn it off remotely until you can get out to the site to actually go out and work on it.
Oh, from home?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes. So they're a very important part. From what I understand, our SCADA systems are old. A lot of our equipment that operate it, they're something called programmable logic circuits, PLCs. And the PLCs that we have, at least on the water side that I'm familiar with, they've been out of production for many years. They're not supported by the company that created them. And there's a whole new technology when you have to go to replace them. So there's a lot of old equipment that we need to have that if it breaks, it's critical because then we can't see what's going on in the treatment operations. So that's why we need a service contract, and that's why we have this that we're presenting to you, so that we can have this company come in with expertise to be able to do the work that we need to maintain the SCADA system until we can replace it.
okay, so I had the question was, so they maintain the equipment that we have, or they provide the equipment?
They will repair, service the equipment if it breaks, malfunctions, if it doesn't work properly. So then we would call them out with our professional services agreement and have them fix the situation.
And I see our water superintendent, that water, Mr. Superintendent, you know, it's really, really important. And I remember going over to the water department, you know, many times to see the operations there, so.
Yes, Mr. Castro is an expert in SCADA, and he can, you know, he's very well versed at what our needs are and the intricate operations of these systems.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. And for the public, Mr. Marchenko I believe, is doing a good job of explaining, but the issue, it's a health, safety, and welfare. If something goes wrong with the water, the sewer,
right.
this is serious. Not alone just for the fines that could be involved, but it's a public health safety. That's a safety issue. Start with just from the front of the report. I really appreciate the reports, all three of them tonight. But I'd like to ask the city attorney if we have any problems, or it looks like we have not. The city put out a request for proposals, but we only received one responsive bid. Is there a problem, or would we double check, or did we have to go back and do it twice, or what was the policy?
No, if we receive one responsive bid, we can take that. We don't have to go and put it back out to bid.
Okay, thank you. With respect to the services that this contract will provide, do they come out and randomly test the components, or the components either work or they don't work?
No, they're working, and they're working as we speak right now. They're constantly in use 24/7. It's only whenever there's a problem with it that we would use this service. So even though the agreement is for $1 million over a 3-year term for all the water wastewater, recycled water, SCADA-related equipment, we would only use the portion where we absolutely need to.
Okay. Other than that,
And Mr. Chair, you said something important, even for $1 million over 3 years, it's $300-some thousand a year. As the chair mentioned, this is a health and safety issue, which is extremely important. And for that, those kind of monies, I think we're getting a good deal.
Yes, again, I'm not sure of exactly what our spend will be. Our spend will be only what it needs to be when we have a malfunction or an issue where we have to have this consultant come out and have their services to work on this specialized equipment. But, overall, those are our eyes out in the system and on all of the different treatment processes so that we can determine if there's a problem and, fix it fast rather than some of the health and safety issues that can come if it's not fixed.
And if it's not fixed, then we can also, if something happens out there, we could get fined and then.
Very much so for environmental fines.
Exactly.
Especially, yes.
Especially with the wastewater.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
question?
No comments.
What is it?
Need a motion to approve?
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you very much. Right now, we are in section E, items for future agendas. Do we have any suggestions from committee members?
I don't know.
No, sir.
I have received concerns with respect to the placement of trees and tree lights. I'm not suggesting this to the city manager. I said I told the gentleman I'd mention it, but apparently there's going to be a public, Mr. City Manager, outreach meeting coming up where the public can get involved in something about landscaping.
Yes, council member. So we're going through a public process right now to update our landscape standards, and I think the next public meeting is this Thursday, I believe. Let me look on my calendar. It will be this Thursday at in the evening at 6 p.m. at the South Oxnard Neighborhood Center, I believe.
Okay, 6 p.m. South
Yes,
Oxnard.
South Oxnard Center, which is at 200 East Bard Road. Again, it's this Thursday, 6 p.m.
That's correct, right? Okay, thank you. Madam City Attorney, do you have any comments for tonight?
No, I don't.
Okay, thank you
Oh,
very much. Go.
Sorry, just one comment.
Okay,
I just wanted to remind folks that this Thursday from 9 to 12, they're celebrating Public Works Week right here outside of behind the City Council chambers.
Let me share something else too. Don't forget our Memorial Day celebration here at Plaza Park on Monday at 11 a.m. You're invited to support our veterans. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Hey.